You know that fossil-based energy supply is being phased out because of very critical economic and environmental issues. And then it is our hope and our aspiration to expedite action in making renewable energy sources as our sustainable energy of the future across the globe. Our presentation today will make Nigeria a case study as we discuss the need to properly harness the outcomes of academic-based researches or researches done in academic institutions to see how we can use what we have harnessed in pursuing the goal of instituting sustainable renewable energy for the energy need of the world. As I pointed out, the need to phase out fossil fuel-based energy supply system, or at least reduce it to the barest minimum, especially in this part of the world, is anchored on two factors. First, uh, the fact that this commodity has continued to remain scarce and expensive, especially in Nigeria. Um, some years ago, um, 7, 8 years ago, the premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol here, sells for between 90 and 98 naira per liter. But now it sells for 190, 200, depending on your location in Nigeria. That represents an astronomical increase in the price of that commodity. Just a few months ago, diesel was also selling in the range of 200 to 260 per liter. But recently, it has even gone up to a peak of 850 naira per liter. Just yesterday, um, rather this morning, the aviation industry threatened to shut down operation as a result of the same increase in the commodity they use, the aviation fuel. So this commodity has remained scarce and expensive because of several factors. One of them is economic factors. The fact that 98% or 95% of these commodities are, first of all, exported in crude form outside the country, and then refined outside the country, and then brought back. This subjects the price of this commodity to, factors, economic factors like inflation um, and the like. So, even including foreign exchange fluctuations and all that. So, if the dollar against naira value changes, the price of our commodity changes. We have also seen the impact of the Ukraine-Russian war on these commodities. As sanctions, as the entire world is sanctioning Russia, and Russia is also responding. You know, all these are bringing crisis in the fossil-based industry. To make matter worse, government policies and political play out have not helped matters, as it all requires political will to make the refineries in Nigeria to work. But this has been very difficult for several regimes in Nigeria. So it's also possible that those who are benefiting from the fact that we have to export this commodity first, refine them outside before bringing them in, are also not allowing the system to present policies and implement policies that will check this ugly situation. Corruption is the wrap around all these issues. As without corruption, some of these issues, sometimes you have artificial scarcity, fuel is hoarded, even the subsidy that are paid still shrouded in all forms of secrecy and non-transparent arrangements. So all this has culminated to make fossil-based energy resources scarce and continuously expensive for the ordinary man in the streets of Nigeria. Another important factor, while um, fossil-based fuel is being phased out, is the environmental factors. We are all conversant with the impact of greenhouse gases on the warming of the world, or what we can call global warming, and its devastating effects of rapid environmental changes, including flooding and all that. So, for these key reasons, we see that fossil fuel are being jettisoned to usher in renewable energy resources as a sustainable energy of the future. Of course, in the slides are the key energy resources that are popularly and commonly used in our daily lives. Electricity, of course, powers most of our electrical and electronic gadgets at homes, in our offices, in companies, and all that. In fact, without electricity, it is very difficult to exist in any part of the world. The other popular sources of energy include the petroleum products that we have discussed extensively, including petrol, gas, including diesel, cooking gas, and the rest, kerosene, and then wood that come in form of sawdust, the local firewood, and charcoal. These are the common um, energy forms of energy that are in use in Nigeria. Now, what are the challenges of electrical power supply? As we can see, electrical power supply is the base, kind of, because if you look at the things that will power with electricity, you see that even some of the things, apart from vehicles and some engines, um, apart from vehicles, practically all other things we power with fossil fuels can also be powered by electricity, including our heating systems. You don't use kerosene on your stove, you can use your cooking gas and so on. If you don't, accept just things like vehicles and smaller unit standby generators, practically every other thing can be powered by electricity. Now, what is the problem with Nigerian electricity? Well, the Nigerian system has been a bit inconsistent despite several efforts. Um, the gains made, are largely inconsistent. Have these generators go up today, the next day is down already. So we have poor generation capacity, such that the power we generate is nowhere near 10 nowhere near 10,000 megawatts. We are seeing in the range of 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, and they keep fluctuating on daily basis. And the reasons are clear, because this generation are based on this fossil fuel, availability of gas, and maybe water level and all that. So, and then, security issues, vandalisms, and all that. All these help to make, the even available capacity not to be explored to its optimum. But even the installations we have are not enough compared to, the rest of the advancing world that have, over, depending on their various capacities. You see nearby countries like South Africa having more than 40,000 megawatts, yet we are not able to do 10,000. You have inadequate transmission capacity. So the little power that is generated, the capacity don't seem to be enough. They evacuate them and they send them across. The massive ground that have been broken in terms of applying new technologies like fact devices and other new systems in power system stability and control are yet to be installed and put to use. Things like um, uh, fact devices that try to support the transmission lines, those that support the buses, things like STATCOM devices, then um, um, CCSC, and so many of them that have been found to have to be able to put quality control to flow of power are yet to be put in use for optimum operation. There are also poor distribution facilities. So as you are suffering inadequate transmission capacity, the distribution sector is not also very effective. You have a weak infrastructure and sometimes not in the hands of those who are able to manage those facilities properly. Of course, the system was recently um, deregulated, but unfortunately, we are not. It doesn't seem that those who are managing these, who inherited these unbundled companies, are competent enough to manage them. So every day they keep on looking for capital, complaining of tariff and inability to recover uh, revenue and all that. We also face challenges of frequent outages and voltage lapses. Only this year alone, we have had at least three voltage collapses that have put a reasonable percentage of the country into darkness. So basically, we see challenges with the electrical sector, and largely some of these challenges are there because we have problem with supply of the fossil fuel that power this electricity, gas, and all that, piped from various remote locations to where the power plant are. So when we have vandalization or any mechanical issue that blocks supply, the system will go down. This is a good reason why we should look towards the renewable energy resources as a more sustainable energy supply. At this point, I want to be sure that I'm being heard.
Yes, we heard you are hearing
All
yourself.
right.
You can
So,
continue. Yeah.
so we move forward. In front of us is the environmental challenges associated with the fossil fuel use. So, we have the depletion of ozone layer, which shields us from, the harmful radiations from the sun. And this creates waves for the greenhouse effect, such that greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide are trapped, gets the heat, gets the environment, heated up, and then cause global warming. And when we have global warming, the water bodies are heated up, and due to um, expansion, the sea level rises, and with just a little rain, we have flooding. So this causes a whole lot of environmental challenges that come with it, and it is something that we need to continue to work hard to save our environment. Unfortunately, afforestation, which is the planting of trees to replace the ones that are being cut down because we want to use wood for one thing and this one as a fuel of its own, are not taking place. While these fossil supplies release carbon dioxide to cause greenhouse effects and global warming with its harmful consequences. This green life, these green leaves, these trees and vegetation actually absorb this carbon dioxide and release for us the freshness of oxygen. So when these things are not working well, um, we now have even the impacts of environmental challenges much more felt, um, you know, with the massive use of fossil fuel and massive deforestation. We have now laid a proper background for why we needed to work harder to continue to minimize the use of fossil fuel while embracing the renewable energy resources as a more sustainable energy supply system. Now, renewable distributed resources as a panacea to energy crisis, both in Nigeria and across the world. So, hello, am I here?
Yes, Doc, you can go
Okay,
ahead.
Yes, we
so
are hearing you.
great. So, um, what are these renewable energy sources? We have solar voltaic system, that's our solar panels. You have concentrated solar panel power, that's the system where you use parabolic surfaces to concentrate power from the sun and then focus it on the heat system that heats and then heats up steam or other material, high conducting liquid materials to impinge on a turbine and then generate electricity. Have the wind turbine, which is very much familiar with us, and then you have the biomass plants, uh, energy from waste products around us, and then geothermal energy from the ground. Okay, and then we now have our distributed generation and then microgrid. So we're going to look at um, briefly distributed generation and microgrid possibly before we move to the next slide. So distributed generation is the practice of generating um, mini power at the load centers. Okay, when you have a multi-bus network, like in Nigeria, um, many years ago, we have just about 28 buses, but the buses have grown to more than 50 transmission buses now, substations now, and you know that is really massive for a country with a population of more than 200 million. Now, so what distributed generation does is that you produce small, you site mini generators at load centers. What we operate in Nigeria now is a grid system where all the generators generate to a common grid, and then that common grid is now evacuated and transmitted all over the country. But what we are saying now is if you cite a small unit generator of several, maybe it can run in kilowatts, several kilowatts in a particular distribution center, such that that distributed generation can supply the people in the immediate environment, and if has extra, can now push to the grid. That way, research have shown that with a number of these distributed generators located at appropriate weak buses in the network, losses can be reduced, um, system stability can be enhanced, and then voltage profile and other parameters of the network can work at their optimum level, thereby protecting the network and ensuring a secure network in terms of a capacity to run without interruptions. Excuse me. So the follow up side of it is that while we are now seeing renewable energy resources as the sustainable energy of the future, in the interim, while we work for the bigger picture, these distributed energy systems can be set up as distributed renewable energy resources, so that we can have solar panels, we can have biomass plants and geothermal plants, and all forms of including mini hydro plants around our distribution centers. What it does is that outside the grid is able to supply the immediate environment, the immediate consumers, as well as pushing the extra to the um, to the national grid. It has these challenges of frequency um, frequency mismatch, and sometimes you may need inverters to invert maybe the direct current produced by something like solar power. But all in all, it's been found to be much more efficient because of the stability, reduce losses, and increase voltage profile that it engenders. Now, this also supports the idea of microgrids, where rather than have a very mighty one grid, which when it has challenges, because a voltage collapse can happen just because of one or two events that happen at two substations or two or three generating stations can introduce a voltage collapse in the system if appropriate control measures were not put in place. Like the use of you new technologies that I talked about. So when you have these mini grids rather than one big grid, it is easier to manage. When something happens in one grid, it is not reproduced in the next grid and all that. And these microgrids can be powered by renewable energy resources as a way of moving towards um, a sustainable energy of the future powered by renewable energy sources. Uh, Unfortunately, um, uh, data and research have revealed that African countries are yet to invest heavily as other developed and developing countries are doing across the world. The graph or the chart we see on the screen shows that the rest of the world, including Africa and others, you know, have like in 2019, have an investment in renewable energy that is just comparable to the one invested by China and all that. And this shows that we are not really doing enough. Of course, this is for solar energy alone. So if one country, China is investing nearly exactly or comparable resources to what the rest of the world, apart from United States, Japan, Germany, and India, then it calls for it's a wake-up call for us to um, wake up and invest in renewable energy resources. Um, this is also a solar PV global capacity by country and regions for 20 uh, 2009 to 2019. We can see that in 2019, the United States have invested like 59 billion US dollars um, in 2019 alone. India have done 11.2 billion dollars, and Africa and Middle East together, the whole of Africa, not Nigeria or Ghana, have done 15.4 billion dollars, which is comparable to what India have done, and far less than what America alone have done. So it's a wake-up call for us in Africa to improve and look in the direction of renewable energy resources as the sustainable energy of the future. Now, part of the challenges and the consequences of this poor investment and interest is showing up in our um, um, academic institutions. You see, in Faculty of Engineering and particularly electrical engineering and electrical electronics of various institutions coming up with massive project reports every year. Yet, none of these uh, project outcomes are, applied in the industry for breakthrough achievements in the energy sector. So we are going to look at challenges limiting the harnessing of energy-based research projects in high institutions, especially in Nigeria. So we have one on the slide of the fact that few renewable energy development-based project topics are made available for project students at various levels. So you are dealing with a situation where the focus in in these institutions are not really on renewable energy. There is no conscious effort to assign students project topics that will help them to advance, have breakthroughs, and advance research in terms of design, in terms of construction, in terms of discoveries in energy sector, especially renewable energy. Then the second point is the fact that energy-based project topics concentrate mainly on plant assemblage rather than design and development of energy systems. Am I with you, gentlemen and ladies?
Yes,
Hello?
you are with
Yeah,
us.
yeah,
You
yeah,
are
go
with
on.
Okay.
us. Just
Great, great. So you have a situation whereby students are assigned projects that they will have to go to the market and buy solar panels and then use it to power maybe a wheelchair or use it to power an electric fan and all that. So it's basically an assemblage. So if we can find a way to assign projects that will make the students, rather than using a, a solar panel to assemble a system, make the students to understudy what it takes to develop a photovoltaic cell and use local materials to assemble one, and then that way we can make it cheaper, and then the student can now research on how to improve the conversion efficiencies of these renewable energy resources, which are one of the major challenges we have in deploying them and getting deeper penetration in our power system. Now, another point is that group-based research projects are not encouraged because project topics are not challenging enough. So you have a situation where because the project topics are not really challenging and targeted at breakthroughs. Okay, so you give students projects that they are able to fund, so to say, because the students many a time in many institutions fund this project. But if there is a grant, if there is a fund for final year students in electrical engineering or both MSc or PhD as well, if they have fund they can access to run their projects, then they will look at more challenging topics. But because these projects are going to be funded by them, and contribute time, energy, and then their intellectual capacity to ensure that they come up with a breakthrough project in the area of renewable energy uh, sources and supply. We also have challenges of inadequate laboratory space and equipment for the large number of students enrolled in our higher institutions. So many a time you have 100 students running a laboratory course in engineering, such that in a space and with an equipment that can only be suitable for 20 students. So we can hardly be efficient in imparting the basic laboratory and technical base that the students require to excel in research and development and even innovation in the energy sector. Right from first year to his final year. Yet, I want to say that within the limits of space, time, and resources, the lecturers and the technologies in Africa have continued to do their best, to put in their best to impact the knowledge, even in the dwindling economic and tight resources allocated to education in African countries. Our academic team have continued to do their best to give their all in the midst of this difficult situation. We have challenges of absence of collaboration between academic institutions and industries for effective initiation of problem-solving research projects. My PhD program taught me that research and projects are all about solving problems. So, in developed and developing worlds, companies institute funds, companies send in problem they have, challenges they have, present them to universities, and then universities source within itself um, students and human resources that have capacity to, you know, um, um, develop this research and come up with solutions. That is not common over here. Um, Companies are not really confident I wouldn't know what the challenges are, but you really see companies coming over to say, these are our challenges we have. Can your students, do something, give us design and give us solutions? So have this funding, but come up with, solutions to these challenges. Until this starts to happen, we will continue to have challenges with having breakthrough um, technologies and research outcomes in the energy sector, especially renewable energy resources. So, what can we do to harness energy-based research projects in the higher institutions? Okay, what is the way forward? Having gone through what the problems are, these are some of the recommendations that I propose that, if followed, we can harness, we can harvest, we can extract, we can have various breakthroughs in terms of um, um, instituting renewable energy systems that will serve as sustainable sources for our future. One is that head of energy related departments to enable more energy system development research projects at all levels. There is need for a conscious effort for head of departments in electrical engineering um, departments across universities in Africa and in Nigeria. They should make a conscious effort to assign project topics that will be geared towards, breakthroughs, be geared towards designs and core development of these plants, rather than asking students to assemble with already developed plants. This is how China is creating waves in the manufacturing industry, especially not just in energy, but in all fields of manufacturing. If this is done, we will be surprised at what African students will do in terms of challenges, in terms of outcomes. Every year, on the average, you know, a minimum of, on the average, 50 students graduate, minimum on the average, 50 students graduate from, electrical and electronics departments across all universities in Nigeria. So you can imagine, if these students are properly motivated and properly guided, they are going to come up with a massive research outcome in the energy sector. We need to encourage group projects geared towards breakthroughs in the energy sector. Research work are best done when it is a teamwork. They say that two good heads are always better than one. So rather than assign small touch projects to individual students, we can gather them in fives and in tens and give them a core energy-based developmental project, such that they share, responsibilities, and then um, brainstorm over the problems and come up with breakthrough solutions. There is also need to increase the technical support base of institutions with adequate motivation, training, and retraining. In many institutions, you have very outrageous and abysmally low lecturer to student ratio. So you have one lecturer pursuing and trying to train many students. So um, with additional academic manpower, well trained and well positioned and motivated for technical challenges. This research is being done by students across all levels, including degree and postgraduate degrees, can be properly harnessed for breakthrough solutions. So we need to train our technologists, employ more technologists, employ more lecturers, and then motivate them properly. Currently, um, most universities are on strike as they are asking for additional um, motivation as well as improved facilities for Nigerian universities. In the overall, we need adequate funding of these institutions and research institutions such that we have research projects that will provide, so that we have a system that will provide quality laboratory and facilities. If we have all the fundings, um, our labs will be equipped. We will also have grants for our students to take up more challenging projects, more developmental projects, and come up with, locally um, local based productions that are cheaper and innovative in nature as it regards renewable energy resources. There is need for sustainable partnership from between institutions and the industries on initiating commercially viable energy-based research projects in higher institutions. This can be achieved if our various head of departments, vice chancellors, deans of faculties reach out to these companies and then strike a deal such that there are funds are made available specifically targeted at renewable energy resource developmental projects at university level. Yes, there are grants here and there, but we are talking about grants that will be made available statutorily for final year students to access, for master students to access, and for PhD students who are ready to do developmental projects in renewable energy resources to access and come up with breakthrough solutions. Now, in the overall, there is need for quality leadership at all levels. Before I leave the point I raised before, government can also come up with policies that can compel these companies to institute these grants. Yes, there are tech funds projects there, but these are still accessed by by lecturers, but we are talking about grants that will be available for students and um, across all levels of development. Yeah. So governments have done well in the area of tech funds, and indeed, a whole lot of projects have come out of it, but yet nothing have been done to get these projects, you know, well well finished for possible mass production. So similar arrangements can be made um, where not just oil companies, companies around the local institutions can approach the university, have an understanding, have funding suited for students to access and do their thesis and final year works. Finally, at all levels, there is need for quality leadership. At the highest level of government, at the state level,
Can we hear our guest speaker? Hello, Doc.
Seems we've lost him,
Okay.
but he's still
So,
on. He's still on, but we can't hear him. He's still on the call, so we can't hear him. Let me reach him and know what is happening. And he's
okay.
almost about. He's concluding. He's at the last
Finding
on
them.
the last slide.
Okay.
hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead and
Oh,
conclude quickly, because
okay,
most of
okay,
our participants are from Bangladesh and it's already late there.
okay. So,
Thank
as
you.
I was trying to conclude, that quality leadership at all levels is what we need. If we have quality leadership at the level of at the highest level of government, at state level, at local level, and at our institutions, including the private sector, I can assure you that the adequate resources will be channeled towards academics and research. As the economy is moving towards the is now a technologically driven, uh, we can work towards becoming a technology giant, especially in the area of energy, which is a crucial commodity that we need and use in everyday life across the world. If we have quality leadership and we have all the funding, then we can have all the facilities and the manpower, and then our students can take more challenging projects in energy and not just energy, but it is renewable energy resources. And then when the outcome comes, they are easily taken up and you know retouched and mass produced for um, commercial purposes, and indeed for the benefit of the immediate community. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all for listening. And be happy and stay safe. God bless you, everybody. Hello.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Jonathan, for this wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. Hello,
Hello, I can hear.
are we out there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. Dr. Jonathan, thank you so much for this insightful presentation. Well, thank you for that. At this point, we are already in the Q&A section. Any question, you can signal by raising up your hand. Then you unmute yourself and ask your question. So I'm sure our speaker is ready to do justice to all questions that will emanate as a result of this insightful lecture he has given to us this evening. Thank you. No question? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, if there is no question, I want to recognize the presence of our senior member in the person of Engineer Nsukka Opogu. Engineer Nsukka Opogu, can you say hi to the house? Engineer Nsukka Opogu. Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, thank you so much. Can you say hi to the house?
Well, I've been listening, even though I was trying to attend to one or two other things together, but I think it was quite relevant. I also think the doctor did a good job. Probably, I don't know how the participation or the attendance is for this one, but I'm sure if we do better publicity and all that, we'll get better attendance and then probably have more people experience this. You know, it's funny that we're getting this thing for free, but we must also not take it for granted, because the time will come when we may not, be able to access these things as free as it is. So it's been it's a privilege. I've been part of this one. So I thank the good doctor for his time. We hope to have him again. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.
All right. We also have a dynamic ambassador for PESD, Engineer Enemmo Chigozie. Can you say hi to the house?
Thank you very much, Dr. Ezekiel Aneke. It was a very good presentation from Dr. Jonathan. He made a very good submission. I appreciate him so much for taking out time to honor the invitation to present today. Just like Nsukka said, Nsukka Fogu said, enjoying some of these webinar series free of charge, but time might come when it be a paid and very serious affair that before you can listen to some of our speakers, you may have to pay through your nose. So I appreciate everyone on this call and on this webinar for taking our time to join. And I believe everybody have taken notes and have some action points where we can take action. Like our good doctor said, put more efforts on quality research, localized research that will go into production, not just assembly. Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you very much.
All right. Because thank you. So at this point, I would like to let us know that this webinar series was done in collaboration with the student branch chapter in Bangldesh. And I would like to call on Tabi. Tabi, if you are hearing us, can you say hi to the house? Tabi, are you there? Okay. I actually understand that at this point it's almost 12 midnight from their end.
Yeah.
if we don't mind, can we all switch on our camera so that all right, okay, all right.
So,
Okay, I just got a message. Tabi, are you there? All right, okay. We have money
hello,
Mumu
Ezekiel.
Islam. Okay, Otto is back. We are
Yeah,
glad to have you back,
yeah.
Otto. Otto is our
Okay.
regional lead Africa for PES Nigeria. So Otto, if you don't mind, you can say hi to the house before we turn on our camera for a snap.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, I just want to confirm if the question and answer checks, we are done with the question and answer section.
Yes, we are done because it seems no one has a question, meaning what Dr. Jonathan did is a wonderful one. So we don't have a
Okay,
question.
thank you very much, Doc. It's a very insightful and presentation you've just given, and as well too, thank you for all the ambassadors that had joined today's section. It's not been easy putting this together. Special thanks to Engineer Dr. Ezekiel and as well to the ambassadors from the Bangldesh section, staying awake up till this time. I think it's about 12 a.m. up there. So we'll just have to go in for the closing formalities. So we call it a day. Thank you so much. So if I may,
Thank you very much.
on our cameras, so we take the we take our pictures and so Tabil, you're there. Tabil, are you here?
I had actually wanted him to say something, but I don't know why he's not responding. Tabi, are you there?
It's 12 a.m. now. So I don't know. Can we on our camera so we take the snapshots and up we go for today? Hey, Ezekiel, can you do the snapping so we go?
If you can help, I'm on my phone. Can you help? Okay. Dr. Jonathan, can you stop sharing?
Okay, I can.
Stop sharing.
Okay, done.
All right.
Okay.
Also, are you taking it?
Hello, Dr. Jonathan.
Tabil, okay.
Oh,
Tabil, you're
Tabi,
there.
that's fine. That's
You're
fine. You are
welcome.
Good
there.
evening. Good morning in your end.
So Tabil, you can take the snapshot so we close for the day. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay, take as much as you can, eh? Okay. Are you done, Tabil?
Tabi, are you done?
Yeah, done.
Okay. Before we go, our senior colleague joined, Engineer Nsukka of Pogo. Please, sir, do you have one or two things to tell us before we end today's section?
He has talked to us already.
He has done that already?
Yes,
Okay, thank you very much. How about Chigozie? Did you give Chigozie time
Chigozie
to
has
say
also
something?
stayed out to the house. Yes.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining today's section. Let's call it a day. Thank you so
Special
much.
appreciation
Gentlemen.
to a special appreciation. Hello, can we all hear me?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes,
We
a special
can.
appreciation to all the ambassadors from IEEE CS BUBT student branch chapter. as Bangladesh Region 10, in the person of Munor Islam, Sharaboni Dash, Mahalin Afrod, and Shaman Akhtar. You guys have done so well, joining us all the way from Bangladesh at this late hour. Thank you so much for your time.
Hello, gentlemen.
And Fabi, you can say hi.
Yeah.
Fabi, are you there?